written by the people who witnessed this particular incident. When the military spotted a young man in military camouflage, they stopped their vehicle and they approached him to remove the camouflage that he was wearing. So he was wearing top and down. So they managed to remove the shirt that he was wearing. Then they told him to remove the trousers. Then he told them that he's not wearing any underwear. And so it will be difficult for him to remove it for them in the public, but the military insisted that they will remove it. So the community members on the youth that were in the procession became angered and they started hooting at them. So it escalated where the community members, some of them decided to also throw stones at the military. Then the military also responded with fire, through which one person died instantly, injuring some of the people. So that is information I have also picked from the area.
Great. And just to confirm, this person who lost his life is the same person who was seen in the camouflage that resembles the uniform of the military.
Yes, that's the same person, right, according to the people.
Have we heard?
So as we speak,
have we heard from the Ashanti Regional Minister or the military command there on this matter?
Unfortunately, the regional minister is out of the country. I was with Captain Jabari, the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator, a few minutes ago. He even spoke to me about the command also taking information about that, and that they have also directed the military command to also conduct investigation into it. And the official police complaint has also been lodged, and so the police have also begun investigations into it. What I'm also picking is that the young man who died is a known member of the National Democratic Congress in the area. And so tomorrow, when DC in the Ashanti region intend to address a news conference on this particular development.
Right, thank you for your time. That's Isaac Justice Bediako. He's our man in the Ashanti region, giving us details to this rather disturbing story where we are told that some military officers opened fire on a group of young men who were on a procession to bury another young man, and the military spotted one of them in camouflage resembling that of the military uniform, asked him to take it off, and there was a confrontation leading to his death. Hopefully we can get a response from the military high command in subsequent bulletins, but as it stands now, we haven't received any communication whatsoever from the military on this matter. When we do, we'll furnish you with the details. Now, away from that, officials of the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, on Wednesday, August 23, 2024, intercepted a cargo package at the Swiss port in Accra containing substances suspected to be cocaine. The cargo, which was being prepared for shipment to the Netherlands, was found to contain 73 slabs of suspected narcotic substance with a total weight of 89.74 kilograms. Following the operation, 4 individuals were arrested and are currently in the custody of NACOC as investigations continue. Authorities say the interception forms part of ongoing efforts to curb drug trafficking and enhance border security. NACOC has assured the public that all individuals involved in this will be prosecuted. You're watching News Tonight with me, Bernice. Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Insight is up next. Thank you for staying here on News Tonight. For Insight, we focus on matters surrounding the suspension of Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. An MP for Old Tafo, Vincent Ekwasifua, has filed a fresh application at the Supreme Court seeking to pause President Mahama's suspension of the Chief Justice until a determination of his earlier injunction on the matter. The application for an interlocutory injunction filed on April 24, 2025 seeks 2 main reliefs following the Chief Justice's suspension on April 22. Now, let me just bring you details of that relief, or the two main reliefs in that interlocutory injunction application. Now, the first one is an order restraining any step or action from being purportedly taken as part of the processes for the removal of the Chief Justice under Article 146, or in any manner until the hearing and final determination of the instant action. Now, the second one is an order suspending the operation of the warrant for the suspension of the Chief Justice purportedly issued by the President under Article 146(10) of the 1992 Constitution until the hearing and final determination of the instant action. Right, we've been joined by the MP for Otafor, Mr. Vincent Asifua. Thank you for your time. Grateful to have you this evening. So, a quick one. Your earlier injunction application bordered on one main thing, which was that you believe that the President did not notify the CJ and obtain her comments before referring the matter to the Council of State, and you thought that was unconstitutional. Since then, we know that the Chief Justice has been given an opportunity to respond to the claims in the petition. That has already happened. And one may wonder why you're still in court on that matter when what you were complaining about has been dealt with.
Well, Bernice, let me say a very good evening to you and to your cherished viewers. Let me indicate first and foremost that, yes, we went to court. And I went to court on the basis that there was a procedural impropriety that was happening. And for that matter, I sought from the Supreme Court to correct that anomaly in terms of procedure.
Right.
When you check Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, nowhere is it stated clearly that in removing the CJ, you need to establish a prima facie. It is by way of interpretation that was sought from the Supreme Court by well-meaning Ghanaians, especially in the case of Frank GHOne versus the Attorney General, that gave the indication that in reading Article 146 in its entirety, the same way a prima facie will have to be established against an ordinary justice of the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the Chief Justice, a prima facie will have to be established against the Chief Justice as well. Now the question is, who establishes the prima facie against the Chief Justice? Because when it is against an ordinary justice of the Supreme Court, it is the Chief Justice. When it is the President, the Chief Justice who does so, it is my considered view that is the President who does so. Now, when you see the procedure in establishing the prima facie against an ordinary justice of the Supreme Court, it is when the Chief Justice receives the petition which has been referred to it by the President and now gives the petition to the justice who has been affected by way of the petition to give his comments and response. That is the procedure before a prima facie will have to be established. Now, reading Article 146, and if I am attempting to directly answer your question, Article 146 talks about the fact that as soon as the President receives a petition against the Chief Justice, the next automatic procedure is for the President to consult the Council of State. This is what the Constitution is saying.
Right.
But that is what I am seeking to say, that upon a proper interpretation of the Constitution, that cannot be the case.
Okay, now let's get. I perfectly get you, and these arguments have been.
Hold on, I am coming to answer your question.
All right, okay.
Based on the doctrine of mootness.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yes, I need to establish the background for you to understand other than that you want. Because you see, if I want to go straight to answer on the doctrine of mootness, I will simply cite the case of GHOne. When Rawlings wanted to reappoint ministers in 1987, GHOne felt that they have to go through a parliamentary approval. But at the time, Rawlings himself and Parliament now made sure that those ministers go through the parliamentary approval. So what that meant was that the issue had become moot. That is, the issue that GHOne sent to court was no more relevant. But the Supreme Court had the occasion to say, in the GHOne case, which has been reiterated just last year by the Kwame which is Abronye and the Attorney General. In that case, the Supreme Court said that unless, of course, the matter does not have any potentiality to reoccur in future, the Supreme Court or the court will not bother itself at all with dealing with the matter. But this is a matter that you and I know, and just going by your own explanation, I am not even saying that the doctrine of mootness even applies here, but from what you ask, I am answering you based on that. That this is a matter that has a likelihood and a potentiality of reoccurring in future. And if anybody tells you that because the president finally gave the petition for the Chief Justice to respond to it, or for that matter, the doctrine of mootness should apply, I disagree. That
all
is
right.
one leg.
All right.
The other leg, that Bernice, I do not even think that the doctrine of mootness even applies, is why I sent you back to Article 1466. That in the 1466, the next automatic option after the president received the petition is to consult the Council of State. But I'm suggesting to you that even before the trigger of the consultation, what needs to happen is that the president ought to establish a prima facie, which procedure is missing in the entire procedure that has been used to suspend the Chief Justice.
Okay, but that is not spelled out clearly in black and white in terms of the letter of the Constitution, because I have it right in front of me, right? It is not stated clearly here that the president should determine. It says, where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the president shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee.
That is why I'm saying that. Why did the president even submit the petition to the Chief Justice? Because it is not in the Constitution, as you rightly said, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Frank GHOne versus Attorney General case established that a prima facie will have to be established against the Chief Justice when it comes to the Chief Justice's removal. Because the Interpretation Act today, the Interpretation Act of Ghana, I think in 2009, right, says that currently in interpreting our statutes and our Constitution, you have to do so by way of a purposive interpretation. What is purposive? The letter and the context.
Right.
It is because of the context that is required today, a prima facie will have to be established against the
quickly, Mr. Sefo, now you talk about the probability of recurrence, for which reason you think that this is not a moot case, even though the president has given her the opportunity to respond to the petition. But to the extent that you simply pin it to a future occurrence or recurrence, why then would you suggest that the suspension of the Chief Justice now be put on hold pending the determination of that case?
That is why I was suggesting to you that I don't agree with the fact that there's a doctrine of mootness applying here. It is your own words, and I answered you by your own words. I am suggesting to you that it does not even apply here because, or we have not even gotten there because, the procedure in 1466 allows for an automatic consultation with the Council of State. So, that procedure that has been stated in Article 14666 is that the president should consult the Council of State.
All right, and
it is not considered view.
Without sound, okay, please wrap up on that. It is not considered view
that a prima facie case is the next step that the president will have to take after a petition has been taken, not consultation with the Council of State. That is, if you read the Constitution purposively. So you now get the point where I'm saying that the doctrine of mootness does not even come in here, because I'm talking about a procedural impropriety.
I get you. Without sounding...
It is true that the president has now finally given the petition to the CJ,
right,
but it is now a third lap. It was supposed to be a second lap. And I'm saying that for the purposes of future, let the law establish that as soon as the president receives a petition, the next automatic step is for the president to establish a prima facie before the Council of State even comes.
Right, granted. Okay, without sounding prejudiced, granted that the court says Vincent is right, the president should have given the CJ an opportunity to respond to the petition before forwarding it to the Council of State. Granted, the court says you're right, and rules as such. That has already happened, right? Now, to the extent that there is an existing process ongoing, which includes a committee which has already been formed to hear the matter and come out with a determination, why then are you asking, and that's my question, why then are you asking that the suspension of the Chief Justice should be paused? Because then one would argue that the determination of your earlier interlocutory injunction does not in any way affect the current process that is ongoing.
Bennett, that is what I'm saying. That if you read my reliefs very well, the relief that I'm seeking from the Supreme Court is to declare a nullification of the process thus far.
Okay.
A nullification of the process, i.e., the president consulting the Council of State, because it cannot be in consonance with the 1992 Constitution. So if those processes are nullified and declared void by the Supreme Court, what that means is that
we start afresh.
The process will have to start afresh.
All right. Okay, quickly though, let me just find out from you. We've heard from the Ghana Bar Association, which I believe you're a member of. The statement will be shared shortly, but what are your impressions of what the GBA has to say about this matter?
Well, what else can I say? The GBA is saying that the matter is sub judice. The matter is already before the court, and for that matter, they cannot comment the way they are supposed to be commenting. It's a bit disappointing to read such a statement from the GBA, especially because it borders about the judiciary. The judiciary is supposed to be the bastion of our democracy. If there's a matter that borders on the head of the judiciary, please, the GBA should have a strong stance. But who am I? The GBA thinks that the matter is sub judice. I have sent it to court, and for that matter, they should allow the court to deal with. But if I was the president of the GBA, it would have been an opportunity to get my stance right and strong, that any attempt to remove a CJ should be on the basis of a grave issue. The issues that I'm seeing seems to be personal. Why am I saying that? See, the petitioner, this is someone who, one way or the other, want to fight a battle that probably, a supposed battle that he had with the Chief Justice in a matter that the Chief Justice was sitting as a judge. But who can question what a judge or a justice of a Supreme Court does in a matter that is before it judicially?
Now you're referring to one of, we understand the petitions are now 5. You're referring to just one of these petitions?
So the point I'm trying to make is that whether it is 1 or 2, if you want to go into the matter, and I have intentionally decided not to go into the matters itself, because as to what stated misbehavior is even debatable, as to what incompetence is even debatable, infirmity of the mind debatable. We will not get there. But I think that we will get there to have that discussion, to see that it is a matter that is so grave to remove a head of an arm of government. But the GBA could have done better. It is disappointing, but of course I am in court to make sure that the right thing is done. So we will leave it at that.
All right. So tell us, while we wait for the court to hear your matter, has a date been set for the hearing? I am not sure. I'm just seeing a notification from the acting Chief Justice for all cases to be forwarded to him for a determination of a date and assignment of judges and all that. Has your case been given a date of hearing?
Well, the substantive application was rescheduled.
Yeah, that I know of. I'm talking about your current interlocutory and injunction application.
Well, the date has not been given yet. I think that by tomorrow we should have the date.
All right. I'm grateful for your time this evening. That's Vincent Asifwa. He is MP for Old Tafo. He has gone to court again. And if you've been following matters surrounding the removal of the Chief Justice, you should know that he went to court earlier seeking that the President should furnish the Chief Justice with the petitions and give an opportunity to respond to same. That has happened, and that's why the issue of mootness comes in. But today we know that he has gone to the Supreme Court again, and this time around he wants the Supreme Court to pause a suspension of the Chief Justice while his earlier case is being heard, and until a determination of that case is heard, the Chief Justice should not be suspended. Our legal affairs correspondent Murtala Inusa is standing by for more on this. Murtala, interesting developments in the court. We know that the previous application by Mr. Asifwa is scheduled to be heard on May 6, 2025. We also know that as we speak, the acting Chief Justice has sent out some notices that are traveling on social media. But tell us briefly what the general mood is within the legal fraternity about the GBA statement, Mr. Asifwa's interlocutory injunction application, and all that's happening.
Well, Bernice, the conversation has been all over. Everybody trying to express his or opinion about the matter clearly. The Ghana Bar Association has also come out for the first time, issuing a statement pointing out to the parties to stay neutral, to be fair, and also the committee that will deal with the issue to adhere to the rule of law. I'm sure it's in relation to how members of the Bar Association are commenting over the issue. But if you ask about the general mood within the judiciary or within the court, it is very solemn, very quiet. It is one that a lot of people are wondering what next, especially so when you have an acting Chief Justice in the person of Justice for Bafo. And clearly, we have seen a memo to all registrars of the court communicating to them to the effect that at any given point in time, new cases that have come, that have been filed, should be the office of the acting Chief Justice should be notified, so that in the case of Vincent Asifwa, for instance, it's a matter that will head to the Supreme Court, and definitely it is a panel that will be dealing with the matter more than at least 5 justices, because it is an interlocutory injunction, so 5 justices will deal with that. Obviously, the acting Chief Justice will have to see that, and then the panel that will deal with it. And of course, cases that will come up at the High Court, he has to be notified so that specific judges will be assigned to these cases that are coming up. So, but if it comes to, because of the Easter break, most especially at the High Court, you do not see a lot of the court sitting. All that they are doing is administrative work, preparing themselves for full action sometime next week, apart from the circuit and the district court that are in full session. If you come to the High Court, Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, everything at this particular point in time is being done administratively until next week.
Now, that's Murtala Inusa. He's our legal affairs correspondent. Well, we know that the Ghana Bar Association is calling for adherence to administrative fairness in processes to determine petitions seeking to remove Chief Justice Gertrude Isaba Saki Tokonu. The statement released on Thursday, co-signed by National President Mrs. Efua-Gatti and National Secretary Kweku Joe Bafo, references Article 295 of the 1992 Constitution, and the GBA emphasizes the importance of upholding constitutional principles in the process. Now, it says the GBA also notes the provisions of Article 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10, which indicate that the sittings of the committee shall be held in camera, and the President, acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, may suspend the Chief Justice. While the GBA recognizes the constitutional prescriptions for the removal of the Chief Justice under the articles, and mindful of the fact that presently the entire matter is sub judice, it is the hope and belief of the GBA that the actors involved in the whole process would have the time-tested tenets of the rule of law as their guiding principles, and in its application follow the spirit of the law. It is expected that persons who play even the minutest role in this process will bear in mind Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution on the exercise of discretion, and will act in a manner that safeguards and enhances the independence and image of the judiciary. Justice emanates from the good people of Ghana and is administered by the judiciary headed by the Chief Justice. The GBA shall carry out its mandate to defend, strengthen, and enhance confidence in the justice delivery system in Ghana. Let's quickly engage the National Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Bar Association, Xavier Kuje, for more on this. Grateful to have you. And we just spoke to Vincent Ekwasifa. He says he's disappointed in the content of your statement. He believes that a stronger stance should have been taken. Has the GBA at any point had cause to worry about how this matter has been handled since the beginning?
No, we cannot. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. There is no way we can come to that conclusion. Don't forget, this is a process that has not come to an end. We do not deem it necessary to take a stance at this point, because don't forget, the whole process that has been triggered by the President has not been done in a vacuum. It is done under the Constitution. So let's allow the process to be followed through to the logical conclusion when the committee set up by the President is done with this work based on the evidence that is gathered relative to the petition and the responses from the Chief Justice. Then, if the outcome is allowed or let into the public domain, people can now begin to run their commentary, do their analysis, and take stance to the extent that those who feel they can go to court can also go to court. Let us also be mindful of the fact that this same process that has been triggered by the President resulted in a situation where people are at the Supreme Court. I understand there are about 2 suits there. So it will not be proper for us at this time to be holding discussions and drawing conclusions at this time. What we should be doing, especially the lawyers, is to do education as to how the process works and not to draw conclusions, because at the end of the day, we have the benefit of looking at the outcome of the process as concluded or will be concluded by the committee set up by the President.
I'd like you to be quick on this for me, very quickly. There are those who believe that the President should have allowed for Mr. Assefua's earlier case to be determined before proceeding and going ahead to suspend the Chief Justice. Does the GBA agree?
It is not for me to agree, but my understanding of the process so far is that the President had been served the petitions, his consulted Council of State, a certain determination has been made. So he moved on to the next stage by setting up a committee.
Right.
So I don't see why he will go and set up a committee if the previous step had not been concluded.
Okay.
I think if there's somebody said we should have taken a stand and in our statement.
Yes.
We will not do that because the process has not concluded.
Okay.
We can only take a position after the process has been concluded. We will not jump into the middle and just take a position.
Well noted. Well noted. Finally, did you have intentions of releasing a statement, or the minority leader's call for a statement from the GBA put you under pressure to do this?
No. That is why, if you read carefully our statement, the opening sentence is, over the period we'll be monitoring. And the reason that we come in at this time is that it appears the whole issue has been reduced to political discussion, which is not what is supposed to be happening. So we thought that we should step in at this time to let people know that, look, this is a constitutional process. Let us allow it to work and the actors involved must also be mindful of the processes they will have to follow.
I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your time this evening. That's Xavier Kudjo. He's National PRO of the Ghana Bar Association, defending the content of his statement. That'll be all for Insight. We've got more news shortly.
Welcome to NLA 590 Mobile. Today we'll
Thank you for staying on News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Per our checks, doctors at the Tamale Teaching Hospital remain on strike despite a plea by the Health Minister, Kwabena Kyuman, for them to call it off and return to the negotiation table for the sake of patients. The Doctors Association at the hospital declared an indefinite strike on Wednesday, April 23, over what they call hostile working environment, lack of basic medical supplies, and an insult to their dignity by top government officials. You may recall what happened earlier this week, but while presenting essential medical equipment to the hospital earlier today, the health minister acknowledged concerns raised by staff at the facility, but emphasized the need for mutual respect in fostering sustainable solutions.
I am prepared for us to come around the table and discuss whatever we need to discuss. And so my humble appeal to my wonderful medical doctors and health professionals at Tamale Teaching Hospital is that I am the first person to take care of your interest. And therefore, let's call off the strike and let's all regroup and strategize going forward. There are some of the things we can easily do with our internally generated funds. Please, let's confront the issues as they are. It is just not sustainable for government to keep donating equipment to health facilities, and at the end of the day, when the equipment are obsolete, we run back to government for money to either maintain or to replace this equipment. What I want to appeal to all the facilities in this country, that let us ensure the optimum utilization of the limited resources available to us. And that includes the management of the beds. I have absolutely no intention to disrespect any medical doctor or any health worker. That will be the last thing I will do. But indeed, let it be said that respect is also reciprocal. I'm not a perfect human being, but I listen, and I'm prepared to work with everybody in the sector. I acknowledge that the health professionals have worked under challenging circumstances. I am the first person to appreciate that. And we are committed as part of the reset agenda in righting the wrongs. But I know that it will not be easy.
Despite the minister's clarification, the fallout from his earlier visit lingers. His decision to dismiss the chief executive officer of the hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku, has been heavily criticized, particularly by the Ghana Medical Association and some health analysts who argue that the move exacerbated tensions at an already strained facility. Now, in an effort to defuse the situation, Parliament has intervened, appealing to striking doctors to return to work. During a visit to the hospital earlier today, member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, Dr. GHOne, criticized the health minister for what he believes was an action that undermined the morale of the staff, and he insisted that the minister issues a public apology to restore trust.
They are asking for an apology from the minister, which will serve as a deterrent, because the Tamale Teaching Hospital has had a history where healthcare givers have been attacked by the public before. So we believe, or I believe, that when the minister renders such an apology, it will prevent any further issue. Nobody's beyond an apology. Absolutely, when you have done deeper introspection and deeper reflection, and in the supreme interest of affairs, where the caregivers will have their peace of mind and feel safe in the environment that they work, and also to act as a way of preventing others from taking an action which they have taken in the past before. Because per what we have seen, the videos that we have cited, it is more or less and the kind of bereft of bashing that is happening on the social media. Most of it is exposing the health system or the health sector. So we believe that apology will calm things down. The doctors will have the confidence to do their work freely without fear. So I believe everything that they have asked for is justifiable. And we are saying that we plead with them. They should let calmness prevail, and they should resume work immediately so that we can have a very safe health system delivery.
Now, let me paint a picture for you of what the hospital looked like earlier today when clients and patients arrived. There was a lot of frustration there, and many people had come there to seek medical attention. But we know that the strike by the doctors meant that the consulting rooms were empty. Listen to some of the residents who spoke to our Northern Regional correspondent.
We are never satisfied with the service of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Patients are complaining. You will send your patient to the hospital. The necessary care to be given to the patient is not there. At times you will see that they will put a test to a patient, demanding the patient to take the test to the lab. Sometimes they demand that a patient should go and request for something either from a different unit, maybe from the lab, from PayPoint and all that. This should have been done by nurses. At least the administration should have passed this to the nurses that you are there to assist patients, not you are there to sit down, relax and hold your phones on social media.
Those were some residents of Tamale talking about the experience at the hospital as the doctors remain on strike. Away from that, President John Mahama has assured the free sanitary pad distribution for girls in basic and senior high schools across the country is not a one-off gesture. He says the policy will be sustained. The initiative aimed at preventing school dropouts among girls due to menstruation-related challenges was launched earlier today. Well, speaking at that program, President Mahama noted the intervention seeks to uphold the dignity of young girls, enhance menstrual hygiene, and eliminate one of the silent barriers to girls' education in Ghana.
This program is a multi-ministerial collaboration involving 3 ministries: the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, and the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. It also aligns with our national goals and global commitments, particularly the SDG 4, which says quality education, and SDG 5, which talks about gender equality. But beyond that, it is rooted in something more profound. It is rooted in our values as Ghanaians, our belief in fairness, in dignity, and equal opportunity for all our children, whether they are boys or girls. So today I say to every girl child in Ghana, you are not alone, you are not forgotten, and you are not invisible. We see you, we believe in your potential, and we will stand with you every month, every term, and every year. To our parents, I say, you have carried this burden for too long, having to choose between books, food, fees, and sanitary products. Help is here, and help is here to stay. This is not a one-time gesture. This is a sustained policy commitment, and we will expand it with your support and your feedback.
Also, Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu has underscored the pivotal role accountants play in the fight against corruption. I'll be bringing you more on that shortly in business. You're still watching News Tonight with me, Bernice. Abu-Baidoo. Lansah and Business Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu has underscored the pivotal role accountants play in the fight against corruption, describing the profession as the backbone of accountability and transparency in public service. Speaking at the inauguration of the Governing Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, the Tamale South legislator emphasized the success of any anti-corruption initiative hinges on the diligence, integrity, and oversight provided by accounting professionals.
Ghana loses approximately $3 billion annually to corruption, a figure that significantly hampers the nation's development efforts. The loss of money through corruption is usually in the area of public procurement, with public officials inflicting contract prices for the provision of goods and services. Speaking after the inauguration of the newly constituted Governing Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu hailed accountants as the pillar of transparency and charged the institute to leverage its integrity and oversight to help in Ghana's anti-corruption drive.
I see your role at the heart of the success of any effort by government to combat corruption. Accountants are at the heart of it. The leakages, the over-invoicing, and the under-invoicing can only always be revealed and exposed by you. Do so for the Republic in order that you can guarantee value for money for the Ghanaian taxpayer in the work that you do.
Subsequently, the Tamale South legislator challenged the Chartered Institute for Management Ghana, CIMG, with spearheading a new national branding drive to raise Ghana's global profile. Drawing inspiration from the Great Britain's national branding success, Haruna Iddrisu urged CIMG to leverage government's flagship programs to attract investors and visiting dignitaries.
And as you entered the office of the British Prime Minister, and you can watch it even as you drive past the British Embassy, to the four walls they will put football, Great Britain, technology, Great Britain, culture, Great Britain. So if you walk out of the President of Ghana's office, what do you carry home? So Ghana Institute of Marketing, my second task to you, brand the country. That if anybody entered President Mahama's office, if he can't take anything away, he can take big push or 24-hour economy away. But speak it in a language which is eloquent, that a visit that brings out something Ghana, that when you go to the office of the president, you must leave with a definition of who we are.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants, ICAG, was established by an Act of Parliament, Act 2020, Act 1058, charged with the regulation of accountancy profession in Ghana, whilst the Chartered Institute for Management Ghana, CIMG, under Act 1021 is mandated to regulate the standard in marketing practice and training of marketing professionals in Ghana.
That's all for business news. Benjamin Yamoa is standing by with the latest from the world of sports.
African football expert and journalist Madu Gaya wants the Ghana FA President Kato Kreku to be named Vice President of CAF. Now, President Patrice Motsepe will be naming the Vice Presidents of CAF in Accra this weekend. Madu Gaya believes it will be ideal to have Kato Kreku as one of the Vice Presidents of the continental footballing body.
It's a secret at the moment. We don't know who is going to pick, but I think it will be very well balanced, because if you look at CAF, it's a 6 zone. Motsepe already as a president of representing COSAFA. Probably the other 5 presidents will come from each of the zones. And obviously we are in a Wafu B zone, and hopefully we might see the one member of Wafubi zone in the EXCO becoming a vice president. But personally, I think that the thing that the Ghanaian president was already the Wafu Zone B president is just fair enough to elevate him because he was already the president of the zone. Okay. And it made common sense. And for me personally, I think that certainly Kurt Ekraku will be one of the vice presidents representing Wafu Zone B.
Still staying with football, and Ghana's U15 boys team booked their place in semi-finals with a hard-fought 1-0 win over South Africa and a 4-0 win over Algeria today at the University of Ghana Stadium. The victory received 2-0 triumph over Uganda in the opening fixture on Wednesday. The result ensures Ghana's men have qualified, or the boys have qualified, for semi-finals with 9 maximum points from 3 games played so far in the ongoing championship at the University of Ghana Stadium here in Accra. And to the girls also have booked their place because they also ensured they won all their games in the ongoing championship. First of all, they won against Benin 2-0 and also won against Malawi by 3-0 today. Finals of the ongoing championship being held here in Ghana. That the schools championship being held by CAF and Ghana. Boys, girls have now qualified for the semis at the ongoing championship being played here in Accra, Ghana. That should be it for sports. Back to you, Bernice, for the rest of the bulletin.
Well, we've got international updates shortly. Do stay. And on the international front, a student was killed and 3 others were injured in a stabbing at a French private school. A 15-year-old boy said to be a fellow pupil was arrested in connection with the attack after being overpowered by teachers at the scene before officers arrived. The suspect reportedly entered the grounds of the Notre Dame de Toutes Aides in Nantes, Western France, armed with at least 1 knife at around 12:30 p.m. local time on Thursday. He then went to the 2nd floor of the high school where he attacked a teenage girl. She later died of her injuries. The suspect then went down to the 1st floor where he attacked at least 3 other students before being overpowered. Local newspaper Ouest France said the attacker had been dressed in an all-black apparel and wore a helmet. 2 knives, including a hunting knife, were reportedly recovered from the scene. Students at the school reviewed they had received an email from the suspects earlier in the day outlining unspecified grievances. And that'll be how we end this edition of News Tonight. There's more news, however, when you log on to starfm.com.gh. We're also very interactive on Facebook and all our other socials via GHOne Television. I am Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Thanks for your company. Have a good evening.